morning, and welcome to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew, my main man over here.
How you guys doing?
Man, what a great Saturday we have here, Seth. It's a great day to be in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, yeah. We got great baseball. We have our hockey teams doing great. They're even though away right now. And we have the national championship for Denver University has made the national title.
Yes, we do. And, of course, the Masters is right in the middle of the tournament. We'll be talking about that. We're doing a deep dive into the Masters. And, of course, we're going to highlight the national championship hockey game that's being played, you said, in Boston. DU is playing against Minnesota State Mankato. And what's kind of interesting is you've got Denver, who has won the NCHC, which I think, and Seth agrees with me, is the toughest conference in the nation, won the regular season championship. And, they beat Michigan to get into the final game, 3-2, in a really, really good ball game.
Yeah, it went to overtime.
3-2. I mean, what a great victory for our Pios.
Well, I think this is just a really great matchup because you look at Minnesota State Mankato, technically should be in the NCHC. But when we used to have the WCHA, when they were realigning because the Minnesota Gophers and Wisconsin forced the NCHC to be created because they wanted to create the Big Ten and be aligned with all their other divisions, Mankato stopped and said, we're not going to go in if North Dakota is called the Fighting Sioux. Well, they didn't change their name. They got moved out of the conference. So now Minnesota State Mankato is now with Bemidji, Michigan Tech in a different conference.
Yeah, and it hurts them because they're not playing against the best competition during the regular season.
Yeah.
I think it does. Although, this year's team, they were number one a number of different times this year. And they won their conference, which is the CCHA, and they won the tournament and also the regular season championship.
And I believe they only had 3 losses all year.
It's unreal. And they have a goalie, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, Dryden McKay, who won the Hobie Baker Award, which is basically the MVP of college hockey. Minnesota State, Mankato came in. They won 5-1 over the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Denver has been in the Frozen Four 17 times. And today, if they win, they will win their 9th overall NCAA championship, which ties them with Michigan.
Yep. And I mean, Minnesota State Mankato's never won it. They've been knocking on the door the past 2 years. This team is a little different for Minnesota State Mankato, is they really utilize the transfer portal. They got 4 players in the transfer portal to come over and join their team, and a lot of people got an extra year due to the COVID year. So we're seeing some really good competition out of this.
Yeah,
team.
and Minnesota State, I mean, they've won 18 straight games. Last year, they were in the Frozen Four. They lost to St. Cloud State, Seth's alma mater. And this is their second Frozen Four. Now, their coach got the Coach of the Year award, Mike Hastings. And this is the second time in a row that he's won this, and the third time since 2015.
Yeah.
So he's obviously doing something right there. He's getting the kids to come, and if you've got kids coming in the transfer portal, that always helps a lot as well.
Yeah, and I don't know what to expect today because with Dryden McKay is the Hobie Baker. Obviously, he's a very capable, great goalie. But both teams are number 1 and number 2, respectively, in the NCAA for goals scored. Denver averaging 4.3 goals a game.
Yep.
Mankato averaging 4.1.
That's incredible. Well, so we may see a lot of scoring today, depending upon. But then you've got 2 of the premier goalies. With Magnus Corona, who's going to be. He's been drafted by the San Jose Sharks. So we may see him leave after this game. This could be the last game for Bobby Brink and for Corona. And who knows about Carter Savoy? I don't know whether or not he will jump. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah, I think he'll come back. The interesting thing with Dryden McKay, he is undrafted. The reason why, he is only 5'11".
Yep.
But he holds the NCAA record for 38 wins. He also has 34 career shutouts, which is second all time. So, I mean, it's not going to be unheard of. The rumor has it in the NHL that the Toronto Maple Leafs might be giving him a call after this game and pulling him up for a playoff run.
That's amazing. I mean, 5'11" to me doesn't seem that small for hockey, but the way the NHL has been going, they want to have the biggest body with the largest amount of pads in front of the goal.
And I thought it was really interesting that even though Dryden McKay won the Hobie Baker, he did not win the Mike Richter Award.
No, that went to a gentleman from Northeastern.
Yep, Devon Levy.
Okay.
He is the Northeastern's goalie, and he had a great season. 10 shutouts. He only averaged giving up 1.54 goals a game. So anytime a goalie's in the ones for goals against average, your team always has a shot to win.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was reading some of the different things, some of the breakdowns today, and I'm gonna quote Dave Starman, and he's a hockey analyst, and basically he gave some different keys for each team to win. And basically what he said about the DU, and we'll start with DU first, is the second line of Manzur, Rizzo, and Wright really need to step it up. They need to create some matchup problems, and they definitely need to score. We know how good the first line of Denver is with Brinks and Savoy, and there's another gentleman, Gutman, is there as well. They must score on power plays. Denver has not scored lately on power plays. They're 0 for 7 in their last 2 games for power play goals. One thing that I do want to note is that both of these teams, you're not going to see a lot of penalties today. They're both highly disciplined teams. And for that reason right there, you're not going to see dumb mistakes made by either of the hockey clubs.
Because any penalty could be deadly at this stage. Because you give up a goal, you get down early. With these two goalies in net, a comeback is going to be hard to mount. So I'm really seeing this being very disciplined, very few mistakes, and I could see it being low scoring with these goalies, even with the high-powered offense.
Yeah. And you're going to watch both teams try to do puck control. They like the pucks in their on their ice, and they want to keep it with them as much as possible. Some of the keys Starman said for Minnesota State, it's all about Dryden McKay in the goal. You know, he must win the possession game, and then also the other players for Minnesota State Mankato have to watch for the rebounds. And it's pretty typical. I mean, that's what they say in every hockey game. But the size and experience is definitely on Minnesota State Mankato's side.
Yeah, they got a lot of players back from last year. If you really watched Dryden McKay, minus the Harvard game where he ended up, I believe, giving up 3 to 4 goals, he's pretty much played perfect. They beat Notre Dame 1-0, and then you go into the Minnesota Gopher game. The only goal he gave up was his defenseman's fault. He didn't realize that the Gophers were right behind him. They stole the puck. They had a 2-on-0, beautiful goal, passed back and forth at least 4 times and tapped it in. And not much he could have done there. But other than that, played perfect during that game.
Right. And the last thing that Starman said is basically, in order for Minnesota State Mankato to win today, keep DU from driving the middle lanes and deflect attacks outside. Stay out of the penalty box. So again, watch for that early. See if you see any kind of power play set up. Maybe Denver can capitalize. They haven't been lately. Look for Nathan Smith. He's an Olympian. To have a big game. He's going to need to have a big game offensively speaking for Minnesota State Mankato. What else have you got for the game? What are your feelings on this game?
I think Denver's going to take it. I mean, it's just a winning program history. It's you're about to tie for the most championships of all time. Mankato's trying to get over that hump of winning their first national title. And you know what? It could be. But I just think that Denver University has the experience, and they've been here before. They pretty much made the tournament every year. I believe the only one they missed was in 2019 of recent, and they won the championship in 2018. So
2017.
Was it 2017?
Yeah,
okay.
2018 they made it to the Frozen Four.
Oh, yeah.
But
And so, I mean, when you have a team that's been here before, it's like when you have, like, the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the NCAA basketball. This is just another game for them.
They're blue bloods of hockey.
And I can see nerves playing a factor in Minnesota State Mankato today because, this would be the first team ever to win it. We'll look early on to see if there's any couple mistakes from them at the beginning. But I could see nerves them playing a little tight because, this would go down in history. And the cool thing about Mankato is small school. They are D2 in every single sport. That is where Adam Thielen played football. He played D2 football for the Minnesota Vikings.
Now, how many students undergrad are there approximately?
So there's about 15,000.
Okay, so my school was 2,500.
Yeah, and so they're the same.
That seems big to me.
They're the same size as St. Cloud Stakes. I remember we had a conversation earlier in the week. well, what's going on with these Minnesota schools that are D1 in hockey, but D2 in everything.
Yeah.
And they just get talent. And,
well, they're in a hockey crazy state.
Yep.
There's no other. I mean, the only other place I could think of where it even approaches is Massachusetts. But Minnesota is just everything's hockey. When I was there in 2006, I spent almost 9 months in Minneapolis. I couldn't get over how many pond hockey, goals I could see. And, all the kids, instead of having basketball hoops outside, they have, set up for the winter sports.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
My neighbor right down the road from me, they actually built, it wasn't a full-size ice rink, but their whole backyard, they had boards, they had a net in case the puck flew out.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. It was like every neighborhood I went to, there was one, and a lot of them had lights, which, it gets dark pretty early in the wintertime in Minnesota, of course.
Yeah.
So, well, remember tonight to tune in. It's going to be on ESPN2 at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
So I had a dream last night.
Okay.
And my dream was not a good dream for DU. I had a dream that they lost. I couldn't see the scoreboard in my dream, but Denver only scored 1 goal. So let's see if that happens. Now, I never get dreams like that. I'm actually betting, and I have to say this, I'm going to bet against DU today because of that dream. And it's just a feeling. When I woke up this morning, the first thought I had in my head was about that dream, and I thought, geez, that's kind of weird. Why am I dreaming about hockey?
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll see. We'll see what, and we'll let you know in our preview show on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, definitely whether or not my dream comes true.
See, and I have it the opposite way. I have DU winning 3-1. They're going to get an empty netter.
Okay. Maybe the one I saw was for Minnesota State.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm hoping.
And hopefully they can draw some penalties and get that power play going. It's kind of crazy that they're 0 for 7 in the tournament because they did have one of the top power plays in the nation this year. And you know what? They're just coming up a little short on it, but I think they figure it out. If there's ever a game to figure it out, this is it.
Yeah. Yep. So we're excited, folks. We're at Brothers Bar and Grill at the Shops of Northfield. The game will be on tonight.
Yep.
Down here, okay? So you do not have to worry about trying to go to another bar and trying to find the game or begging them to just put it on for you. So come down. We're located just north of I-70. Seth, you've got to have. Do you have any specials going on for the DU game tonight?
Yeah, so we just changed our monthly specials. Right now we're doing $5 Coronas, and I believe we're doing
Coronas for Magnus Corona. Okay?
Yeah. And we have a bucket special on High Noon. If you don't know what that is, it's like a pre-made mixed drink that comes in a can. We have the grapefruit and we have the peach, and those seem to be selling really well, so you can buy a bucket of those. And of course we have our nightly specials, and we're going to have so much sports on today because baseball has kicked off. We will have that on. We have UFC tonight. The Colorado Avalanche played last night, won in overtime 5-4 over the Winnipeg Jets.
Wonderful.
And they are playing again today in Edmonton, which is a great matchup to see. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins basically versus Nathan McKinnon, probably the two best players in college hockey, minus Austin Matthews. So it should be a great day of sports today.
Excellent. Of course, that kind of leads us into the Masters, which is by far my favorite golf tournament of the whole entire season. I was really fortunate when I was living in South Carolina in graduate school. I had a chance to go down and see the Masters on 5 occasions. And it's really neat. Like today, before I came on the air, I was watching, and they do these flyovers of all the different holes. And I have such great memories. I can still pick out certain trees of where I sat in 1992 or 93 and what angle I looked at which hole. And the hole placements are just amazing. Even though they've totally revamped the course, it's still amazing. You can pick your trees out. And if anybody out there, or Seth, if you ever get a chance to go to a major golf tournament, make it the Masters. It's supposed to be 50 degrees. It's very kind of cold, actually, for this kind of time of year in Georgia. 50 degrees all day, which means the balls aren't going to fly as far as they normally do because, of course, the balls aren't going to be as warm. The story all week has been Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
How did you ever get a guy who was in a near-death accident and is doing as well as he is in this tournament? I mean, he's tied for what, 9th right now?
Yeah, he might be 11th.
Tied for 19th. I'm sorry. He's
19th.
tied for 19th. He's +1. And, yesterday he had a rough time. He started out with 4 out of 5 holes. His first 4 out of 5 holes were bogeys.
Yeah.
And, a lot of players, they don't recover after that. So.
What I think the interesting thing here is, like, Tiger's good for golf. Love or hate him. When he makes the cut and he's playing, even though, like, let's be real, he's probably not going to win it,
right.
People watch. And we've had a bigger crowd for this PGA event than we've had in a long time just because Tiger Woods is playing.
Yep. That's why I wore green today. It's just kind of an ode to the Masters. Scottie Scheffler is outpacing everybody. He's at -8. He is the #1 player in the world. For those of you that haven't watched much golf this year, he's won 3 tournaments in a row leading into the Masters, which is really unheard of.
Yeah.
He shot a 67 yesterday in a situation where the wind was ridiculous, and he played in the afternoon during the worst conditions the course had to offer. So, I mean, one thing about they're talking about this guy is that he plays in such a way that he's not going to have the big blow-up hole. He's not going to pull a Greg Norman, okay? Greg Norman back in '96 was 6 shots ahead in the final round and ended up losing to Nick Faldo. He fell apart. So they're saying that, with this -8, we're not going to see him come back. So you're going to have to see some of these guys step up and shoot some aggressive shots. Now, the one thing cool about this tournament is most of the time a golf course only has 3 par 5s. This has 4 par 5s. Each of the par 5s, even though they've lengthened them, are eagleable. Okay, you can get an eagle very easily. That means you can land it on the green after the second shot. So look for that to happen on the par 5s. That's a very, very good indicator of people that are moving up. They call it moving up day for a reason. The tournament, in my mind, doesn't really start until today. So you got a guy like Justin Thomas who comes out and just lays an absolute egg in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean he was +3, +2, or something like that. Comes out and shoots a 67, and now he's back in the fold. He's tied for 10th. Our defending champion Matsuyama, he's coming off of that neck injury. I mean, CBS couldn't gush more about this guy and the absolute incredible menu that he provided for the Champions Dinner. For those of you that don't know about golf, and the Champions Dinner is considered the hardest meal ticket to get in the world. Okay, it's only for Masters past champions and their wives. Well, I guess this guy had like black cod and all these really great, incredible Japanese steaks. And he got up in front of everybody, and he does not speak a lick of English. And if you remember last year when he was presented with the green jacket, he had to have an interpreter. Well, he got up there and ended up making some speech that was just off the charts. And again, the media was not allowed to film it, so no one really knows, but everybody said it was done with just grace and tact. Dennis, DJ is tied for 6th. DJ, you never know what the guy can do. He's got so much talent. He's raised in Columbia, South Carolina. He's a Chanticleer. He went over to Coastal Carolina and spent that was where he spent his college days. He is lurking right there at 6th. And then you don't want to forget about these guys. Rahm, #2 in the world. Rory McIlroy, Berger, and Tony Finau are all +2. Okay, and it sounds like it's a long ways away, folks, but remember they've got 2 days to make up this and to try to catch him. But they are all tied for 23rd. Very, very, very much in the cut, as far as making
Which is crazy because Tony Finau kind of laid an egg yesterday because if you look at it, after day 1, he was sitting -2.
Yes.
And now he's at +3?
He's at +2.
So
he was 4 over yesterday.
Yeah, and you had Tiger kind of playing a little sporadic. He had quite a few bogeys, but he did get some birdies on the back 9, and he pulled it together to only shoot +2 for the day because he was -1 after day 1 and was only +1 after day 2.
And Finau is one of these guys, he gets snake bit. Okay, if you remember, he played the par 3 tournament in November of 2020, and he ended up turning his ankle. How do you turn your ankle playing a par 3? First of all, if you're in contention for the Masters, why even play the par 3?
Yeah.
That's for the older, past champions. You know, the amateurs go out there and play, and it's for people that have their caddies, like their son and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really a family day.
Yeah.
He's out there and he's walking off the tee box and he turns his ankle, and it screws him up for the entire tournament. Some of these notable people that didn't make the cut, okay? And this is sad because it's the easiest cut to make in major golf. Jordan Spieth, Zach Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Schauffele, Rose, DeChambeau, and then of course Shrek Uzenheim. None of these guys made the cut, which is sad because I was really looking forward to seeing people like Spieth and Koepka in the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, and I think for DeChambeau, though, it's not a lack of talent on his part or playing bad. It's he rushed it back. I mean, it's a big tournament.
He's injured.
His doctor told him not to play. He wanted to play because it's the Masters.
What
and,
injury does he have? What is he?
I believe he hurt his hip, something like that. It was something that affects his swing. So he even said when the tournament started, he's thinking he's at 80%, which, I mean, when you're playing at one of the most difficult courses, if you're not 100%, it's going to be a long day for anyone.
Yeah,
But,
and the Masters the course doesn't set up really well for DeChambeau's game.
Yep.
I mean, you remember, he's a big power hitter, and, you know, it's a lot of finesse at the Masters.
I just love he got asked after he didn't make the cut if he was going to take some time off, and he goes, I don't know, I got the longest drive competition on Thursday. I might still go to that. So, you know, he just doesn't want to take out. He's a love for the game. No player likes sitting out. So it'll be interesting to see if he does take some time. I think another notable thing is Phil Mickelson was invited to play in the Masters, and he took it off, working on his mental health.
Yep.
Wish him the best, and hopefully we see him here in some tournaments coming up.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'll never forget 1991. I followed Phil Mickelson because he was paired up with a guy that I was watching, which was, I believe he was paired up with couples that year.
Okay.
So I was following this guy, and, you know, on the practice rounds, you can get really up close at the Masters. And by the way, back then, the Masters, okay, on Monday it cost $5 to get into a practice round. Tuesday was $10. And then it was a big whopping $25 to go to the par 3. I skipped the par 3 a lot of times because I didn't want to spend the $25, and I really didn't care about watching the par 3 that much. But the first 2 days, you can get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you basically at first light, they let you on the course, and then you could spend the entire day until they kick you out. And they had to walk me out of the course because I was right camped down in Amen Corner, and they would just be like, okay, it's time for you to go, and we'd be like, okay, we'll be back tomorrow. So some of the other things, some of the tee times to watch today, and again, Tiger is teeing off at 11 a.m. this morning, and he is with Kistner. He and Kistner, I guess, get along really well. Kistner is kind of a cool guy. He grew up in Aiken, South Carolina. My ex-girlfriend had him as a student back when he was an elementary art student. So he's a fixture in Aiken, South Carolina. Finau is playing with Cameron Champ. They go off at 9:30. They're already on the course right now as we speak. McIlroy at 10:20. You've got Rahm going off. This is a really cool grouping. You've got a 10:20, a 10:30, and a 10:40 tee time where you've got Rory McIlroy, Rahm, and then you have Bubba Watson and Sergio. So that's going to be a great grouping to watch. And if you're looking on your tablets and stuff like that, follow that grouping because you'll be able to see a lot of those guys play like 4, 5, and 6 and before they even get to the back 9. JT goes off at 11:40, DJ 12:20, and then the last 2 pairings are Lowry and Im and Schwartzel and Scheffler at 10:40 and 10:50 respectfully. So folks, if you're just waking up right now, turn on your TV, put the Masters on, channel 69, I believe it is, the golf channel, and you'll see a lot of cool factoids.
See, the one thing I wish about golf, I like watching it. I've gotten more into it over the years now that I've actually gone to the course. But they have selected holes, like I was looking up on Hulu, you can watch holes 4, 5, and 6 and just watch the players come through.
Yep.
But there really isn't an option to just follow like Tiger.
Oh, no, there is now.
There is now?
Yeah. You can pick specific people, and then it's a loop, and you can see every one of their shots.
Oh, I'll have to look that
It's
up because
really
honestly,
cool.
that is what I've always kind of wanted because there's so many times. I mean, there's a lot of golfers at the front at the beginning, and there's a lot of players that it's cool to see them hit if they have a great shot, but you're not as invested as you are with these top tier players. Like Tiger Woods, after his amazing comeback, of course I want to follow him. No matter how he shoots, I want to see how he does.
Yeah, this is a new feature, so it totally is understandable that you didn't know it's there. It's on the Masters app, so just go into your app on your phone or your tablet and download it, and then when you go in there, just pick your favorites, and you can pick as many favorites as you want, and it's a continuous loop that they'll show you. I think I have about 13 that I was watching yesterday, and I just sat there, and that way you never miss your favorite player's shot. And let's be honest, ESPN and CBS, they don't cover it, and it's not their fault either. It's the Masters ownership, and it's the membership of the Masters. They don't want to cheapen the experience by making it so accessible on TV that people don't come to it.
Yeah.
And if you look at the crowds, okay, and understand that Augusta National is like baseball, Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, and Wrigley Field, all combined in one. Okay, it is the premier golf course in the world, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's just to have walked that course. I feel so lucky. I was in the shower yesterday, and I was trying to figure out how many times I've been to the Masters, and I came up. It was 11 times that I had a chance to go and walk that course. And I'm not talking just walk the course. I'm talking I walked it and studied it and spent time under specific trees and found angles so that I knew that the rest of my life when I watched this tournament, I would be able to say, hey, I remember standing right there. Okay, I remember that's a big uphill. Okay, the undulations and the elevation changes, you can't see it on TV.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So some of these cool things. Okay, let's on a lighter point, let's talk a little bit about some factoids of the Masters.
Okay.
Okay, so yesterday, or a lot of people were saying the course looks so green. Well, it is. It's green for a reason. One is that if there's any brown spots, they paint it. So that's actually green paint that you see out there on some of the places. And you'll see in the walking areas from one day to the next, that the next day you come in, it's all green again. It's not the grass, recovering, it's actually green paint. The birds that you hear, okay, and there are loud birds on that course, let me tell you. And there are loud birds all over northern Georgia and South Carolina. The bird sounds are piped in, some of them.
I like it.
I know, but it ruined it for me a little bit because I thought the birds, I was like, God, what do they do? They put the microphones up in the trees? And I come to find out some of them are fake. The elevation changes. The first hole Bobby Jones ever walked, if you guys are watching this, it's right before Amen Corner. Hole number 13 was the first hole that was ever chosen. And then, of course, the hand change, the scoreboards are all hand changed. So people don't know sometimes what's going on because there's a little bit of a gap, which
I kind of like that because I feel like technology, it doesn't ruin sports, but it doesn't have the same feel. Like we're looking at baseball now. Now teams have the option. There's a digital thing on the catcher to let people know like if they're stealing or not. You don't have the hand signals as much anymore. So it's nice to see that they stay true to tradition.
Yeah, I like it too. That's really kind of cool. The practice facility is supposedly the best on tour, and the roars you hear are real. Those are not amplified, and it's really kind of wild. As you get into Amen Corner, everything kind of funnels down to Amen Corner and Rise Creek. That whole area is just an echo chamber. So when you hear these loud, roars and stuff like that, know that you'll find out in probably the next 30 seconds to a minute what exactly just happened. But you'll see players have to actually back off their shots because it's that loud.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. And the last thing, the best part of going to Augusta National is the food. Okay, so I was showing Seth this, and I'm going to pull it up here. One thing about the Masters is you probably have to pay an arm and a leg now for a badge.
Uh-huh.
But you can go there and get an egg salad sandwich for $1.50.
Can't even beat that price.
The pimento and cheese, which is a staple, everybody always says you got to have it, and it's pretty good. I like the egg salad better, is $1.50. The barbecue sandwich, still $3. These are the same prices from 1990. They have not changed. Ham and cheese on rye, $3. And if you ever wonder why everybody is so happy and everybody's smiling at the Masters, it's because the domestic beers and the import beers are only $5 a piece.
Can't beat those prices.
Nope. And then there's always my favorite, the mini moon pie for $1. I probably had 20 of those over the years. The price point was perfect in 1990, and it's ridiculous in 2022.
Yeah, you look at it. You go to a hockey game, you go to a baseball game. It's $12 to $15 for a beer. To see those prices are just shocking to me.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's just wonderful. You know what I mean? I mean, if you want to jack up the prices and people want to pay the prices to get in for the badge and everything, fine. But leaving the food prices the same as they were in the 80s, 90s, probably the 70s. Those would look like 70s prices to me. You know what I mean? So that's just some of the cool things about the Masters, and hopefully you'll get a chance to watch some of the best golf on the planet over the next couple days. Seth, what else have you got going on? There was a couple other things you said. Oh, we talked a little bit about Dwayne Haskins from the Steelers, the backup quarterback that had a tragic accident last night. Tell me a little bit more what you know.
Yeah, so Haskins was struck by a vehicle last night. He ended up passing away at the age of 24. If people remember him, he did start, I believe he came from Ohio State. Then he was on the Commanders for a little bit. And then he's been serving as the backup for Pittsburgh. Was probably going to compete for the starting job with Mason Rudolph because
And Trubisky.
Yeah, and Trubisky. It doesn't sound like anyone was really sold on any of these quarterbacks quite yet. Now, I've heard a lot of good things.
I'm sold on Trubisky.
Yeah, a lot of players are too. I think he had a bad hand in Chicago.
Oh, totally.
And I think he really showed what he could do in Buffalo. But, you know, it's just always sad to see someone so young pass away.
I just found out, Seth just told me before we went on air, I didn't even hear about this news yet. So this might be breaking news. I don't know. When did you find out this morning?
I found out this morning. I got a text actually from my fiance who's on vacation because we always text football factoids that pop up. And she broke the news to me this morning at about like 9:30.
Jeepers. She's just getting in from her bachelorette party, right?
Probably. But yeah, so we're looking at, you know what, it's very sad. On the brighter note, we do have a NFL draft coming up here in a couple weeks. It is in Vegas. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Rumor has it, Minnesota Vikings going to give away that first pick. And it's been interesting to see some of the exchanges going on right now because what people don't know, there's a couple good players in it. I mean, you got Georgia has some magnificent players. We're talking about probably a sleeper that's going to come out of there. Might be the best in the draft. But it's a weak draft class. And so a lot of teams right now are trading their first-round picks and getting first-rounders for the next year or the following year after that. So hopefully that there'll be more talent in the draft pool. Yeah. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm going to see a lot of movement, I think, going into this draft, that a lot of teams are going to trade down and a lot of teams are going to try to give away picks so they can pick the following years.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you know, we were saying a little bit about, and it's so premature to even bring this up, but with Haskins passing, will the Steelers move up to try to get Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh? I don't even want to talk about that right now. I think it's way premature to even think about it because I just, you know, my heart and everything goes out to Dwayne Haskins' family, and, you know, was he married?
I don't know.
He
was pretty young, so I mean, it's hard to say. I mean,
it's just terrible.
24 years.
And as details break, we'll give you some more details on that if we hear more while we're on the air. But as of right now, I was completely caught off guard by this.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about what do you feel is going on with the baseball now. Yesterday, did we end up? I didn't even see the score.
So we ended up losing 5-3. I mean, we're playing the Dodgers. You're looking at the Dodgers have probably 10 times the payroll that the Rockies do. The Dodgers are loaded up to go to another World Series run.
Yeah.
Rockies, they got Chris Bryant, lost Trevor Story. I don't really think it makes them better. I just don't see the Rockies doing anything this year.
No, it's really sad, and it comes down to pitching. I mean, what's sad is that with baseball, you don't have a salary cap. And without the salary cap, you have the haves and the have-nots. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have teams like the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, whose pitching, just the salary of their pitchers is more than the entire salary of certain teams.
Yeah.
And that to me, I would love to see something adjusted. You know, people worry about salary cap for football and for NBA basketball, but I'll tell you what, that's what creates parity. Mm-hmm. And that's why every year no matter what people talk about, preseason NFL football, every single year, I'm almost to the point where I don't want to listen to it anymore because they just don't know which teams are going to come out and play well. It's just, it amazes me.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to see. You see the Yankees, like, every year, it's like, hey, they just signed 4 more guys for over $100 million each.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Minnesota at this moment, I don't know what Corey is getting paid or what the guy they just got.
Chris Bryant?
No, for the Twins.
Oh, the Twins.
Chris Bryant, I don't even know either, but $100 million is a lot for these small market teams.
Oh, it's huge. And you just don't have, not only do you not have the gate, but you don't have the local, the local advertising. You don't have the TV revenue that these places can generate. It's sad because you've got teams like Kansas City. You have teams out there like the Rockies that end up being basically farm teams. Pittsburgh Pirates, perfect example. They're basically a farm team. They're a quad A farm team. Yeah. Because as soon as somebody gets a chance to go sign a contract, we saw, Arenado, he wanted out.
Yeah.
But Trevor Story, the Rockies offered him more money, and he still went to the Red Sox.
Yeah, because it also comes down to playing for a championship.
Yep.
Everybody's in the sport to win.
Yep.
Trevor Story, he had a great career here. He hit a lot of home runs. But at the end of the day, he wants to win just as much as anybody else. And he realized that the Rockies aren't built for success.
Well, and if Arenado stays, so I think Story stays.
Yep.
And you've got Charlie Blackmon is coming off one of his worst years. So hopefully he can turn it around a little bit. But it comes down to pitching. And pitching is where it's at in baseball. And if you don't have a pitching staff and you don't have the money to pay the pitchers, you're just not going to win on a consistent basis.
Well, and you look at their division. You got the LA Dodgers, followed by the Padres, who have Tatis. You also have the San Francisco Giants, another tough team. And then you're running in the Diamondbacks. So you might be able to finish second to last in your division, and that's kind of what you kind of hope for.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. Those of you that have ever been in Denver, if you get a chance to go to Coors Field, it is probably one of my favorite ballparks that I've ever been to in my life. Mm-hmm. You can still get a seat down there, a rock pile ticket for anywhere from $4 to $6. And the cool thing about Coors Field is you can walk anywhere you want in the stadium, minus, the club level.
Yep.
And the suites, of course, you can't go in there. But you're able to sit and walk around and see the game from so many different angles. And then, of course, in right field, you've got all the bars.
Yep.
I mean, that's really kind of a cool thing. So if you do get a chance to come to Denver, come to Coors Field. We'd love to have you. Anything else that we have majorly going on?
The Avalanche won again last night, and they are sitting 1 game ahead of the Florida Panthers for the best record in all of hockey. Florida ended up beating Buffalo yesterday, and after the game, it was 4-3. First of all, Buffalo isn't that great, but bench clearing brawl, which really put a stamp on that game. That was pretty awesome.
What's hockey without a fight, right?
Exactly. But the Avs are looking good. Hopefully, Gabriel Landeskog can make it back soon. It seems like all Colorado teams are dealing with injuries. We're still missing Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray for the Nuggets, but Nuggets are going to make playoffs, so that one's going to be exciting. Hopefully we can get some of those guys back.
We're in the 6th position, so we're not having to play in a play-in game.
Yeah.
And your guys, your Minnesota Timberwolves, are 7th.
Yeah, and they're saying the Minnesota Timberwolves they did a simulation on ESPN, has an 87% chance of making the playoffs after the play-in game.
Getting the 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Good for Minnesota. Right on. Well, excellent. Well, folks, again, we're down here in the mezzanine section at Brothers Bar and Grill in the shops of Northfield. Get off at either Central Park or Quebec. Come on over. We're right by Bass Pro Shop. Come on in. Have some good comfort food. Let's watch some golf. Let's get ready for this big game that we have at 6 p.m. tonight. Denver Pioneers hopefully will become national champions. Boy, wouldn't that be nice after all this hockey coverage we've done. It would be so cool that our home team ends up winning the national championship.
Yeah, and it's difficult to get to this part. And, DU has done a great job this year because they're already talking about next year where DU's going to have some issues where North Dakota is the dark horse that they're saying next year is going to make a run at the title. Michigan, a lot of those guys are coming back. Even though they got knocked out by DU, next year could be a different story because a lot of Michigan is returning next year.
Yeah. And the hard thing is, again, and you hear now that this transfer portal rule started in 2018. Kind of weird because it feels to me like it's been around a lot longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hear the college coaches, especially in basketball, starting to complain because basketball is really a smaller sport. You've got only 5 guys that play.
Yep.
So a transfer portal and a couple transfers can really change the whole aspect of your team. But just as you were saying, Minnesota Mankato just had 4 guys come in on this hockey team.
Yep.
And it's made a huge difference for them, right?
Yeah, it's really solidified them. I mean, they were already a great team, but this might be the thing that puts them over the edge. The transfer portal could really help this team. Unfortunately, the teams that they transfer from kind of missed out, and they're not doing that well.
Right.
I saw one came from Bowling Green. I didn't hear much about them in hockey this year. But it's just really interesting to see because it does play a factor in too. You want to go to teams that get coverage on TV,
right?
And you want to go to teams like that because the smaller schools like Bemidji, minus being in the championship for their conference against Mankato, didn't hear anything about them. They had a pretty good season. So a lot of these players know that if they can make it to these schools, they get more TV time, they might make it to the next step.
The next
NHL,
level, definitely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, we always talk about Tom Izzo being one of our favorite coaches on our program here. Tom Izzo had a whole article talking about the transfer portal. And what he said was, I can play by it, I can adjust my recruiting. But the bad thing is that the people that are in the transfer portal, a lot of times, and a lot of these people are going to more than one school. One, it's hurting them academically because they have to transfer. How many of their classes transfer? Secondly, the other thing is that they're not learning how to weather the storm.
Yep.
Now, not everything is peaches and cream when you get to college athletics. There are rough spots, okay? You lose coaches. Now, if you lose a coach, I can see. I mean, I technically lost my coach after my sophomore year, and I really would have loved to transfer, but I didn't want to sit out a year.
Yeah.
I can see using the transfer portal for that. But just because you're not playing or because things aren't going well for you or because you broke up with your girlfriend or whatever reason these people are using to go in the transfer portal, it's changing the game of college athletics. That along with, one and dones, and you see that a lot with college basketball.
Yep.
Now, one thing great about the football is that they make them stay for 3 years.
Yep.
And that's a lot of it is to physically protect them. They don't want 18 and 19-year-old kids getting hit by some 28, 29-year-old or 31, 32-year-old stud linebacker and put in the hospital for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, but I see why, too. Like, basketball is a little different for me just because you look at LeBron James. Would he have been cool to watch him in college? Yeah, but was he ready to be a pro? 100%. Same with Kevin Garnett. Same thing. Didn't play any college.
Kobe Bryant, too.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys, but they are once or twice in a generation players.
Yeah.
And how many of these guys did you see? And I've been a Syracuse fan my whole life. How many guys I watched from Syracuse leave after their sophomore year? And I couldn't figure out why. So, I went up and I talked to some of my friends who live in Syracuse. And here's the problem, is a lot of them know that they have to have a certain number of classes passed by the midpoint of their sophomore season to be eligible. And a lot of these guys weren't going to class. And Boeheim wasn't making them go to class. So these guys were forced to go to the pro. They left early, and they ended up really laying an egg. Johnny Flynn.
Yep.
Isn't that a bad memory for you?
That's a terrible one. But you also look at it, too. Transfers like that, let's say you don't have the best grades, and you're close on that borderline of eligibility. When you transfer schools, the credits transfer, but the GPA really isn't a factor. It kind of starts over at your new school. So,
not all classes will transfer, depending on which school you're transferring to. You know what I mean? There's some of them that have full acceptances, but there's also ones where you have to retake the classes.
Mm-hmm. So. Which they may not mind. I mean, you get the same material twice. You're going to do better the second time around than the first.
I don't know about you, man. I didn't want to take any of my classes twice. I was a chemistry major, and that once I got done with stuff like organic chemistry, I closed the book on it and never looked back.
Yeah.
Well, I did because I went to graduate school, but I didn't want to go take the class over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but excellent. All right. Well, Seth, take us out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the specials again, real quick. The drink specials. We've got Coronas for Magnus Corona. What else do we have?
Yeah, we have, what is our shop special? Oh, we got our Long Island pitchers on special.
The purple one too from yesterday.
Yep, the purple one from yesterday. But we have just some amazing deals going on. We have great food. We're going to have all the games on. It's going to be a perfect day today. Masters are on right now. DU will play a little later. The Rockies will play a little later. And then following that, we have UFC tonight. So if you want to make a day of it, you can watch sports from now until 2 a.m.
No cover for that UFC fights. Remember back in the day when they used to charge covers all over the place?
Yeah, the one cool thing about the shops at Northfield Brothers Bar and Grill is we never charge cover ever since we opened this store, and we've been open for like 6 or 7 years. Now I see a lot of other people charging $20 at the door, things like that. But Brothers Bar and Grill here in shops in Northfield, no cover ever.
Excellent. Well, come on down. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, you can pick up our shows on YouTube, Spotify, Getter. It's on LinkedIn. And just go into Google and just put in the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew, and you're not going to miss one of our episodes. Go back and look at some of our ones on our previous shows on betting and some of the women's that we've highlighted through the years or through the months.
Yeah.
We're over 50 shows now. So there's quite a bit of content in there. All right, folks, remember, get out there and earn it this week. We'll see you next week.
See you, everybody.